we still, our material was the same going in as it was coming out.
Yeah.
So, the demos that we had prior to the sickness had, for instance, like Want, Down with the Sickness, The Game, and Meaning of Life. Those are the 4 songs that were on it. Those songs were identical in their structure and arrangement, and even their musicality to what was done on the record. So, from that perspective, things have really never changed. The one thing that did happen this time is this was the fastest we were ever able to finish. We finished tracking the record in 7 weeks' time.
Really?
Yeah, in and out of the studio. So that doesn't include mixing, mastering, whatever. That took another week or 2. But we were just very, very well prepared, knew what we had to do, did it, were trained for it, and really, really just nailed it. We just had some unbelievable moments, each of us did, in the studio.
The one thing...
It's just with the drum tones in particular, Mikey approached this one a little differently. He wanted there to be very clear separation between everything on that kit. And so the tuning was approached a little bit differently. And the way that things were actually stacked in the mix were approached a little bit differently. Neil Avron has mixed the past 2 records, Indestructible and this record. But he definitely did pay particularly close attention to tuning aspects and trying to make sure that the separation was there. But sometimes a little bit too much of the low-mid and the low will get rid of some of that precision and the separation so that you can hear all of the flair of what's going on as far as the fills are concerned and whatnot. And I think in this one it was brought much more up front.
By the way, how do you guys manage while you're performing? Because now you have guitar solos, and you only have one guitar player.
Typically, John will hit a pedal that turns distortion on the bass.
Okay.
And he'll play what the rhythm riff would have been on bass.
So you have no thoughts of bringing a second guitar player?
No. It's really not necessary. We're preserving the same feel live. So I also think that there's something to be said about live versions of the songs being just slightly different than what you hear on the record. Yeah. But truth be told, is with the amount of power that we have, that we bring with us, and the intensity of what's going on, and the type of rigs that they have, like I explained to you with what John does, it's pretty seamless. As a fan, or even as somebody with a trained ear like you're describing, it's going to sound like the record, and then some. So. Time comes when the bird is ready to leave the nest. It's really just as simple as that. It's no disrespect to Johnny K at all. He's an amazing guy, and he does fantastic work. But we learned a lot. And Danny definitely has the head and the patience to sit there for countless hours and noodle and try 100 different things. I don't have as much patience as he does. I'll admit it, right off the bat. And truth be told, is I sometimes, to finish my aspect of things, I sometimes need to pull myself out of it. I need complete peace and quiet.
Yeah.
I need to kind of be in my own space and nobody bothering me, and just me and the music and finishing my aspect of things. But once you learn, once you've done enough records, and if you don't need the creative assistance of a producer, which truth be told is we've never needed the creative assistance. Like I said, we've always been, the arrangements have been the same.
Yeah.
So once we already know how to do the rest of it, well, what's really the point?
Yeah.
We definitely thought it was time to take that step with Indestructible and proved ourselves with it. So when the time came for Asylum and we wanted to do the same thing, it was kind of a no-brainer. I didn't sing the way that I do now prior to being in Distrubed. Our greatest source of influence and inspiration is each other, and we've changed one another over the course of time. The rhythmic delivery, the guttural stuff, the primal, animalistic stuff that you hear is really inspired by the primal nature of the music. If I didn't have that bed to lay it on, I don't know that I would have gone. It really developed very organically, very naturally. And we're very, very fortunate as a band that we've been able to have a sound that is so recognizable and identifiable and individual. We're very blessed and thank God for it. It all depends, like for instance on Believe there wasn't one.
Yeah.
Truth be told is that we've done a couple covers that weren't specifically 80s songs. We did a cover of Midlife Crisis by Faith No More, which is a 90s song. Yeah. We did that originally for a Faith No More tribute album that was supposed to come out, but Mike Patton put the kibosh on it, and so it was originally being spearheaded by Chino from the Deftones, and it never ended up seeing the light of day, and we ended up reviewing the song and doing a newer version of it that we thought we might want to put on the Indestructible record, but there were so many good originals that we figured, okay, we'll leave it as a B-side, and maybe it'll see the light of day on a soundtrack or something like that, but unfortunately nothing ended up ever surfacing. We've also done like half of a cover of a Metallica tune. Really? We did Fade to Black. We used to intro Darkness off of the Believe record, and when we'd play it live, we'd first play half of Fade to Black, and then segue into Darkness, just to kind of make sure that people understood the spirit in which the song was written. Yeah. That many of the great metal bands of all time have written heavier, darker sorts of ballads that have come out from time to time. And on the new record, there's a B-side. There's a U2 song. Yeah, I still haven't found what I'm looking for. That was Danny's idea to try, and he played me what he had in mind musically for it, and I was just blown away by what he came up with musically. And I'm a fan of U2, always have been. I respect what they do. I respect their strength and how they've dominated. And so, as far as a lyrical perspective is concerned, in certain ways it even made sense with my life. Yeah. The lyrics that are being spoken in the song. So we embraced it. It isn't specifically an 80s fetish thing or anything like that, but we like to take stuff that is very left of center. Okay. Stuff that's nothing like what you would think Disturbed is, and really make it our own, as opposed to taking something that everyone would assume we would cover, like, let's say, a Sabbath tune or a Maiden tune or a Metallica tune, and do it. We like to take stuff that's nothing like us and make it like us. Release your life, take your place inside the fire and light. Several points. Really? Give you an example. Inside the Fire. Okay. On the Indestructible record. A song that's about suicide. Yeah. I'm sure you understand the taboos associated with that. Believe you me, I heard it. Really? From many people. The video, when we shot the video, the way we wanted to shoot the video, believe you me, I heard it.
You had a problem with another video from Believe, right? Which was in the burning New York City.
That was ridiculous. That was just ridiculous. That was just because there was rubble falling off the tops of tall buildings in an earthquake sequence in downtown Los Angeles, which is not such a far-fetched thing to begin with. But because it came out during the anniversary of 9/11, and the imagery was too reminiscent of rubble falling off of the tops of buildings of the World Trade Center, so people lost their minds. I mean, videos were getting banned left and right at that point in time. I know that Blink-182 had one of their videos banned, Foo Fighters had one of their videos banned, a lot of people were taking hits. To me, it was heightened ultra-sensitivity. It's incredible and ironic that they have no problem playing the actual footage of the World Trade Center, falling down. But any imagery that looks anything like it is no good. So, whatever. It ironically, ended up becoming one of our more successful videos from an online perspective. So, it still ended up seeing the light of day. But with Inside the Fire, it was definitely a touchy subject. There was a song on this record that I had a lot of resistance on initially. That's Never Again, which was about the Holocaust. Are you sure you want to go there? Are you sure you want to put yourself out there as a Jew and to take a stance against the people who deny that the Holocaust ever happened? I'm like, yeah, I do. I've never ever had an issue with my heritage and who I come from and who I am. My grandparents on my mother's side and my whole mother's side of the family, were wiped out with the exception of the grandparents in the Holocaust, save one or two people. Both of my grandparents on my mother's side, one of whom is no longer with us, unfortunately, my grandfather, were survivors of the camps. My grandmother in Auschwitz and my grandfather in Bergen-Belsen. And we're about to lose our last remaining living generation of survivors. It's important to say to the animals of this world, to the Ahmadinejads of this world who think that it never happened, listen, buddy, fuck you. It happened to my family. And maybe if they realize that it's not just a story that you read in a book, that it's something that happened to someone that, like the singer of a band that they like, happened to his family. It's not just a story. Yeah. Maybe it becomes more real. But I've never had issues approaching subject matter which is risky. Don't be lazy. Don't expect anything to be handed to you. You need to fight, kick, scratch, punch, bleed, anything you can do, but all of your time, all your effort, all of your money. I know so many bands that they just expect something to be handed to them on a silver platter. You have to make it happen. When we were a baby band, when we were an unsigned act, any money we made gigging went back into the band. And we took money out of